Welcome to Pulse, where positive actions uplift lives and spark excellence. I'm your host, PaulDTaylorSr, and this podcast is dedicated to inspiring growth, developing leaders, strengthening schools, empowering families, and helping people become the very best version of themselves. Each episode features conversations with educators, community leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs, entertainers, and everyday people who are making an extraordinary impact through ordinary acts of excellence. Whether you're a teacher, parent, student, administrator, business owner, or someone pursuing purpose, you're in the right place. So settle in, take notes, prepare to be challenged, encouraged, and inspired. This is Pulse, because excellence isn't an accident. It's the result of positive actions taken every single day. So lean in, listen, learn, lead. Let's get started.
Welcome to Pulse, positive actions, uplifting lives, sparking excellence. Today we have a full set of grown men on these couches, and we got just enough space to fit 5 men on these couches today here at the district. Out here West Pine Street in Ponchatoula, downtown Ponchatoula, Louisiana. Come on out and just support this beautiful establishment. So today we have the new head football coach for Ponchatoula High School, Green Wave, Roll Wave. Coach Shaffett. Welcome to the podcast, Coach Shaffett. I'll let you introduce your staff that you brought with you.
Okay, I got Coach Shannon Craig. Coach Shannon Craig was formerly at Patterson and had some other stops. He's coaching the offensive line. Everybody knows Coach Kenny Sears, legend there. Coach Kenny Sears was recently the head coach of St. Paul, and he's come on and coaching running backs and working with our offense coordinator, Coach Colby McDonald, which Coach Colby McDonald's been there. The other two have just come on this year.
So the Green Wave is on the roll. We got a brand new coaching staff. I think that is going to be, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen this season. As we are recording this Wednesday night, Thursday, we have a big scrimmage against Bell Chase on tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing, the hard work so far. So as you've gotten into the seat, what has your experience been so far?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I believe the kids are hungry. They're excited about the changes and stuff. The biggest thing I felt coming into this spring is to see physicality. Are we going to be physical? I watched some film last year, and I just felt maybe that's kind of what we like in certain spots. Not everywhere, but in certain spots we like some physicality. So one of the things I wanted to see was how physical we would be this spring. And I think that's been the biggest thing I've seen from on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. I think the guys are hungry and they're getting physical, and some guys are even better than I could even imagine, So I think that's been the biggest positive at this point.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it, Coach. So tell me, what's your overall philosophy of how you want your team to operate, how you want your team to function, from the coaches all down to the players?
Well, it's structure and organization is the biggest thing. I'm still getting my feet up under me. It's been a short transition since February, and so we're making a lot of changes and so forth. So the biggest thing is the structure. You establish the structure. Man, it was a blessing having Colby there. One of the things with coming in, he has done a lot of things. He knew how some things are operating, and then there were some things that I seen that I felt we could change and all that. But the biggest asset we're coming in was having him there, knowing the kids and so forth. But, so the structure, establishing structure is the biggest thing. And then after that, like I said, I want to see discipline. Are we going to be disciplined? What's the discipline like? And first thing we did, we come in and we made certain rules that within our within the team. And I'm going to tell you what, I think the kids responded well. You know, sometimes you'll have kickback. You coming in, you bringing all these rules and all this kind of stuff. And so we brought in some rules and we've enforced it. And the kids have done a really good job of buying in the discipline part. And then, like I said, the next thing is seeing what kind of, we got to be physical, bring physicality back to football, and it's not just, I think football in the whole is not as physical as it used to be. I think you got a lot of spread offenses and a lot of drop back, and so one of the things I want to do is, and that's what, having a huge asset with the coaches we've added, you can tell the line's a lot more physical. They're firing off the football, they're driving, those are things that we've got to keep on improving on, and then Coach Sears, that's kind of where he comes from with St. Paul. They would get down and in the stands, fire off and hit you and drive you, and so I think I'm seeing exactly we're on the right path of where we need to be as far as getting physical football and so forth. So I wanted to bring in a good staff. That was another high need area, was bringing in a good staff. And so far we brought in some great guys that's working, and it's almost like they all are buying in, but yet it's a great fit. Not just that they're buying in, it's a great fit. The coaches are working together. They're working, we got 2 offensive line coaches working together. Kobe and Coach Sears are working together. They're hand in hand. And those are the kind of things that just don't come always. And so far it's been phenomenal.
So Coach, tell me, what are your expectations for this school year? Like, what do you expect of your team? What do you expect of your coaching staff? And most importantly, what do you expect of the community? Because I think a lot of times we leave the community out of the equation and they really don't know where to fit in or how to fit in, and they end up doing stuff or saying stuff, that really kind of acts counterproductive to what we're trying to do in the program. So what do you expect from the team, from the coaches, and from the community?
Well, like I said, it's all in the structure aspect of it. So if we do what we're supposed to in the coaching staff, and it works its way down, the players buy in, and they're working, doing what they're supposed to, and then the community falls in. I just feel it works. I don't expect to come in and say, well, the community's going to buy in. No, we got to earn that. As a coaching staff, that's my job, is to get out in the community. We've already had, like today, Coach McDonald took some football players over to set up for the 8th grade ceremonies, with the varsity football players. And we worked the festival. And so we're doing a lot of things to get out in the community. That's my job. My job is to bring the community, to us, not necessarily expect, what a community should. No, it don't work that way. And, and so as long as our kids are out in the community, the coaches are out in the community, I think the community is going to buy in.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What do you think, and any of you guys could chime in, what do you think is the best thing a parent of one of your players can do to support their player and the team?
Well, my thing is, I'll talk to parents about anything. What your athletes doing, where they need to improve, we don't discuss playtime. That's the coach's decision, and it's not my decision. At the end of the day, yes, I got the final call, but you know what? These guys all got responsibilities, and they're with that guy, that athlete, every single day, every hour, in the weight room, on the football field, etc. So they know who's supposed to be on the field. So my thing is, if a parent wants to reach out and talk about something, I'll talk about their athlete. Now, I'll never talk about playtime, because the guys that make that decision are the guys that's working with them every single day. Now, we want the parent support. You got to have the parent support. Today's time, kids are stuck on cell phones. And as parents, is that where you want them? Do you want them on a computer? Do you want them on cell phones? Or do you want them in doing something that's constructive, that has discipline, that has structure, and that is going to help develop their life down the road? And that's what we're here for, to develop young men that are, going to turn around and come back in the community and do for the community and be part of the community and turn around and get back to the program.
All right.
How many kids we got on the roster right now?
100 and
It's actually over 100.
Right. So you look at over 100 kids, and there's only 22 spots between offense and defense, and look, I know think everybody here has had kids, raised kids. Everybody wants their kid to play. We all have sat in the same boat, a couple years ago, I sat in that boat, and, I watched my kid get benched. I watched my kid earn their spot back. Sometimes, parents have to remember that, the coaches, they got to win, right? So they're not going to sit your kid just because they don't want to play your kid, or they trying to mistreat your kid.
Or don't like you.
Or don't like your kid. There's some pressure there. And, the best thing I would tell parents to do is you've got to teach your kids, hey, you got to keep working hard, and you got to work for your next opportunity. When it comes, you better be ready to go, because it might be your last shot.
And that talent might get you there, but character keeps you there.
That's right.
It's not this the fact your kid might be able to run a 4.240.
Yeah.
But if they got a 0.42 grade point average, that's not play material.
And you're going to have guys that step up that, hey, he might not be as athletic, but he is going to outwork everybody out there. And so he's going to have that opportunity.
And look, we've had the 1.8 GPAs who are phenomenal athletes, but, some people forget too, sometimes if that kid's struggling in the classroom, he's probably struggling to do what we're asking them to do. And that's something all these coaches are taking into consideration, with their position group. Hey, we have XYZ we can do on offense or defense, but either we're going to have to scale it back because of this, or, the next kid has to play because he knows all the plays, and we can get away with that little bit of difference in talent,
What's the latest LHSAA requirement for a grade point average?
It hadn't changed in
still 1.5.
Yeah, it's 1.5. That has never changed. It's been that way a long time, and that hasn't changed. But now look, we do preach academics, and we are, when we get done with practice, we still talk about academics and grades. And this week it's been a hot topic on our when we are in our pre-meeting before, when we go out on the football field, we're talking about academics. The end of the year is winding down, so it's very, very crucial at this time. So, that's something they have to really focus on, academic. And it's not just now, but throughout the year. And that's something we got to do better on, too, as well.
And one of the things I like about Ponchatoula High School is Ponchatoula High School is an academic school.
Oh, it is definitely an academic.
You when you're at Ponchatoula High School, you are a student athlete.
That's right.
And we, our basketball team, our softball team, our baseball team, those teams have high GPAs as a team. And, we expect the same thing from our football players, right? And of course, number one is player safety. And we want to make sure that our kids are prepared, that they're ready to go, but ready to go mentally.
Yeah.
And ready to go also means that I'm handling my business in the classroom. And if I can't handle my business in the classroom, I ain't gonna be able to do it in the football meeting room, and it is not gonna translate to the field. So, and it's just, I think that football is really, I know it sounds cliche, but it is a game of life. Like, and if you really think about the game of football, every subject in high school is involved in football.
You're right.
You got physics. You got chemistry, you have English, which is communication, you have math, you have geometry, you have every subject that the student studies in high school is on the football field, is on the gridiron. I mean, you even have a timeline, it's conversions and everything, so it's I think even psychology. Sociology.
Yes.
All of that is out there on the football field. And I think a lot of times with people who are really not embossed in the game, don't really, they just see X's and O's, my kid running out on the field, they throw him the ball. But, it's a strategy to it. And even the players who are on the field, they've been evaluated to understand why this particular player plays this particular position. Now, we had a conversation earlier today, and I like all of y'all take on this. The the difference between a player who comes and plays football versus a kid who plays a position. His playing football, they got kids who play football all day. They're talented. They can run up and down the field. They can cut and move, But we talked about, especially on defense, how a defensive end has to play a position. Like he has an assignment.
Correct.
And that assignment is just like in class you have assignments. On the football field you have an assignment too. And if you don't carry out your assignment, it's going to be to the team's detriment.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like
only as strong as your weak link.
That's it.
That's the old saying, but it's a true factor. You're only as strong as that weakest link. And so if you're not disciplined and you're not doing what your part of, whether it's offense or defense is, well, you're not going to be successful. So everybody's got to be on the same page. And one of the things too, not just that, every position's got to be on the same page. We're all on this same team together. I don't care if it's offense or defense or special teams. And at the end of the day, it's all one team. And so, we all are working together, intertwined. And if defense is not backing offense or offense not, and you got that separation, that division in there, there's a problem. So, one of the things that coming into the spring and going into next year is that's my biggest focus is staying positive, but not only that, supporting each other, being there for the offense and being there for the defense and just like the tackle being there for the end and linebacker being there, and the end being there for the linebacker, et cetera. So, but Coach Sears, he can tell you a lot more about that as well.
And I like culture that coaches is trying to build. Ultimately it's a team game. In all my years at St. Carl's, we've never had the most talent at all. We probably had the least talent, but we played well as a team.
But we know about them. We know who they are. We know.
Definitely see that coach is trying to build that, and that excites me about being part of the staff and being here to help him. One of the things I mentioned to Coach the other day is, talking about grades and so forth, and if a kid has that special skill set and he can play on the next level. I've never had a college coach in all my years come in and ask me the first question, Coach, how big is he? How fast is he? Can I see the tape? They already know all that. The first question usually is, Coach, can I see his transcripts? And that's the most important thing, because you can't get to that step unless you put the work in the classroom.
Yeah.
And, there's a reason that student comes before athlete.
Mm-hmm.
In turn. You're due first.
Yeah, I like that, and I really like the fact that you stamping that and seconding that emotion, because I think that a lot of times, even as a community, we get so enamored with wanting to win. But if we're not winning in the classroom, we're not going to win on the gridiron, And I had my middle son, he was being recruited for to play football. He ended up getting an academic scholarship to Nichols State. But the thing about it is, when those coaches were talking with him, the first thing they asked for was their transcript. If the GPA didn't start with a 3, you wasn't getting looked at. And they want an ACT score that starts with a 2. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times I talk to kids and they tell me that I got a 3.5 GPA, but you're stuck in a bunch of classes like 3 PEs and not at Ponchatoula, but I've seen it happen where you got 3 PEs and a few electives, and you got the GPA to qualify to play in the fall, and then they put you in the spring in the classes that matter, and you're not eligible for the next fall because you couldn't pass the spring.
Right.
And so I think parents, in my estimation as an administrator, that parents need to put that pressure on their children, because the coach is going to handle the football field. Parents need to support in the classroom. We really need parental support to oversee what they're doing when they get home, making sure that they're continuing their education, because it's called homework for a reason. They gotta get a chance, get home, get a snack, get a little bit of rest, and then hit those books at home, because their personal study time is where that growth really happens. It does happen in the classroom. It's just like, I teach piano classes, and I can teach a kid the scales up and down for an hour and a half, and which my classes really don't go that long. But if I can go for an hour and a half, and they can do those scales an hour and a half. But if between the time they leave that piano class and the time they come back, they don't sit to a piano on their own and work it out, they're not gonna learn.
Right, that's true.
And that's where the great piano players, that's where the great musicians, the great artists is in practicing and honing that craft on your own individual time, doing that work, putting that work in at home. And so I really want to see our parents focus more on, less on how much time my kid gets on Friday night, and more on how much time they spend doing homework during the week. Because coming from football practice or band practice or cheerleader practice or dance team practice, they're going to be tired. They need to make sure that we need to make sure that they have someone at home supporting them, pushing them to keep the academic side going when they're not at school.
And what's great, Tansville Parish now, has put so many Chromebooks on our campuses.
Yes. Yes.
Like we have Chromebooks in the back. We have kids who, when we go to academic period, they have time to work on. We have, days when the workout finishes 10 minutes early, and you can watch those kids. There are a lot of them who go grab that Chromebook, sit down, tutor each other, in whatever class. Math, I can't help them in math. I'm just being honest. I was a social studies teacher.
I'm an English man myself.
But they help each other, and they work. Same thing. Track season, we actually got in trouble because 2 of our track athletes took 2 of the Chromebooks to a track meet, and they got a notification that the Chromebooks were stolen.
Yeah.
Kids just trying to do some schoolwork.
Schoolwork.
Yeah.
They do. They're in the back all the time, getting the Chromebooks and working, and especially right now too. It's at the end of the year, and they're making sure they get caught up and so forth, or get fed. And
that's something we all try to preach to them too. And I think the academic period has helped with a lot of them. Is you can't wait till the end of the year, and we've all said it. But Coach Sears said it the other day when he talked to them. He told them, your freshman year, you can put yourself in a bind. You can make or break the chance to get a scholarship. Academically,
because that's when the tape recorder goes on.
Yeah.
Middle school, but when you get to high school, the tape, everything is on tape now.
And your EPA's really built freshman, sophomore, junior.
That's right.
Yes.
You don't have enough classes after that.
Seniors hard to turn around.
It could be a milestone or a millstone from that point. And
no, there's no doubt. And so one of the things that I felt coming in, so there's certain things that I felt a high need, and as far as like an offensive line coach, and another thing that you got to add to that is, and I'm working with getting an academic advisor. So I've got one in line, and so and I think every school should have that for the football program or the basketball program. So, if I got to pay for it out of my account, I've already got Miss Stant, Coach Stant. I got her. She's going to be my academic advisor. She put a program together with the grades, and then we've got a process where if one of them's falling off the grades, well, they got to go to her and they meet with her first, and then if it's not getting better, then they meet with me. So we're already on the roll with getting that, because that's and when you got 120 something kids, 130 kids, that's very, very important. There's no way you can monitor all. You need somebody that's their focus.
Yes. It sounds like your program is what a true program is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be a group of systems that work together, just like the human body has the circulatory system, respiratory system, the neurological system. They all work together so that we can have a place our spirits and soul can have a place to live on this earth, right? And so you have a whole bunch of different systems working together, and one of the key ones is the cerebral. That academic system is a key one to put in place, because it can't kill your season when the first report card comes out, your star running back or your quarterback, they can't start for you because, and you've invested a lot of time in a lot of weight on their shoulders to start for us, And so we don't want to see that happen at any position. We want to keep all of our positions strong academically first, so that we don't have to worry about missing out or losing kids. Because right now we facing that, right? We facing, it's the time where you're coming up to those report cards, are you eligible to play in the fall? Now we're going to have to get you eligible in the fall. Now we got to wait before you can, to get a report card before we can decide whether or not you can play or not. And I think that's
another thing is too, a lot of these athletes are not just a one sport athlete, they're two sport athletes. So it doesn't do very much for your program if you're a football program and then it comes down for that, student athlete to go to baseball and he's not eligible. So that's where it's very crucial, not that you just getting eligible for the fall, that you know what, you got to be eligible for the spring. Yeah. And so it carries over and like I said, so, that's a big part, making sure we have an academic advisor and making sure that we're covering our bases every week and so forth.
And when my son was being recruited at Southeastern, that was one of the things that they touted at Southeastern is there is an academic advisor. But it was a part. It spread across all of athletics. Yeah, like every athlete. We need to make sure that we pass that on to the other sports as well. Now softball, we ain't got to worry about them because they like a 3.5, 3.8 grade point average as a team.
We all need those softball players to tutor out.
It's other players. Yeah. Softball is they're doing well. But, we want to make sure that we have a good system in place that'll address those issues. And like you said, that'll monitor and catch those kids before they fall through the cracks. And, when we look, next thing we look up, we haven't watched them in a few weeks and I haven't seen you what's been going on. My grades ain't right.
But another thing too, we was talking about the parents earlier. The parents got to quit waiting until eligibility comes up to decide you want to put the pressure. Because when their kids are ineligible, then the phone calls come in. Yeah, coach, what we got to do? Or when we back them up, and hey, you're not playing in the spring game, or whatever, because you're either ineligible or you run the risk of being ineligible. And then all of a sudden it's panic mode. You got the ability to check, and we monitor their grades. What's allowed at home already, is a very important thing.
Yeah. I was at one of the practices. Well, it was during the I guess it was the athletic PE, and you guys were out on the field one day. It's about a month ago, and one kid bought a cell phone out and must have had it in the shorts or something, and the team had to pay for it.
That's right. Hey, it's all about the team. It's not individual. So
my question is, cell phones, like, look. Body language. We're gonna start from this here, Coach Sid. Cell phones. What's their role? Because I think a lot of times our boys are more interested in what they look like on TikTok than what it look like on the score clock.
Well, first off, the social media thing gets out of control. So I usually try to explain to guys that, look, what you post on there is going to be on there forever. Yeah. And if you want to get recruited or you want to get a job or anything you want to do in life, if there's something that you can't be proud of or something that's just out of bounds, that could trip you up later on in life. It could trip you up getting a scholarship. It could trip you up, on your job. So you need to be careful what you put on there. In terms of athletics and the phone, the phone is never allowed. Weight rooms, you feel, you store it away in your locker. That was my policy. And I know Coach has been along about their cell phones and since I've been here. But, the more you can get them away from that and focus on the process of what they need to do as an athlete and as a student. And, if you do that in your recreational time, just know that at the same time, it needs to be responsible use. Because a cell phone can be a good tool. You could look up things. You could, you find help with your homework. And, in this day and age of AI, it could be a helpful tool to look up things. But the social media aspect, they need to be very careful. Yeah. Especially what they post. because that'll stay with you for a long time.
You know, one of the things that I did when I first got in there, and I met with every player, and we broke them in groups of threes. And so in breaking them up in groups of threes and bringing them in, and what was the most impressive thing that I found throughout the whole thing, and now we're talking about 120-some kids, and the most impressive thing is in every group that walked in my office, one of the things they felt that they wanted and needed was discipline. So that was on a Friday, Thursday, Friday, etc. And the following Monday, we brought in a new strength and conditioning guy, and he started the strength and conditioning, and we brought him. So look, no earrings, no cell phones, no jewelry, no cursing, no, and you would think that, we can't air ourselves. Not a problem. They walk in that weight room, there's no cell phones, there's no jewelry. They come to work. They know they're in the office. They're going to work in the office, and it's no different than when they get out of school and they got to go to work. It's the same thing. So when you get to work and when they get in that weight room and they leave in they come into work, and the guys are really bought into it,
And they bought into the accountability, even before Coach got there. We had a bunch of talks, in that kind of period where we didn't have a head coach about, being accountable to one another, because on Friday night, if you can't rely on that guy to do his job, people are going to start trying to make up for that guy, and now they're not doing their job. And this happens to every program, especially when you're losing. The seniors start saying, "But this is my senior year." So when we came in and talk about that, we got reestablished discipline. That's one thing we got our seniors to understand. And even though, like in my personal life, I'm not a fan of hey, if one teacher does bad, all teachers are punished or whatever. Athletically, these guys have started to understand, like, okay, you're the older guys, you don't let him walk in with his earrings in, or you don't let him bring a cell phone in here. You don't want the consequence of it, and they have bought into that, like you see it, they're starting to rush each other to get dressed and get out, and like you said earlier, it's a bunch of little systems working together, that is going to create the product at the end,
Yeah, and what I'm looking for, what I'm waiting to see, is that culture that you're building, that program that you're building in the back. When I start to see it in the hallways, I agree. Yeah, and I start to see those football players holding those kids who are always wearing hoodies, who on their cell phone. That policing that you're talking about, that they're doing it among themselves. Now we spread that culture throughout the school. That's what I'm looking at, and that's when I really know that we're gonna have to run the program.
And like coaches for years have told their kids, "Hey, if you see one of your teammates about to do something stupid, just grab them."
That's it.
And hopefully that'll start to translate to not just grabbing your teammates,
Right?
grabbing
Holding
your
school,
buddy, or whoever. So
everybody,
reduce the problems
Yeah.
at their schools, and
Exactly.
have a better school culture, which I think we have a good school culture at Punch
Yeah.
School. We always want to improve.
Biggest room in the world is a room for improvement. Now, Coach, I want to put some pressure on you right quick.
Here we go.
All right. So last year, and Kobe, this is nothing towards you, bro. You were the offensive coordinator last year, but I'm not holding you to that. All right. You got a clean slate with me. All right. So last year we went 2-8?
2-8. Yeah.
Right. Year before 2, right?
Yes.
All right. But my high school career, I was fortunate enough to play for the legendary Tim Detillier. Y'all heard of him?
Yeah. Well, Coach Detillier.
Lutcher High School, Bulldogs. 100%. I tell everybody in Pontotola, I'm from Lutcher. 9-time, about to be 10. Coach Dwayne Jacobs, he's coming on the podcast in a couple of weeks. I'm excited about that. Currently, I gotta go and check to see. I know our baseball team is in where is that they play the baseball state championship? They're in Sulphur right now.
I don't like that.
They had
Lutcher beat us at Independence back in 06.
Oh yeah. With what your boy name was? The big running back.
Derek Dupart.
Yeah, I remember. The quarterback back then, his name was Thomas Ricks. I remember him. But yeah, so we have my freshman year, tend to tell you, was head coach at St. Charles. And we went 2-8. That coach, he was there for that 1 year. One thing at Lutcher, we don't play that loser at Lutcher. But my sophomore year, tend to tell you, it came. He kind of look a little bit like Coach Tim, same stature. Little big guy or big little guy, one of the two.
Shark, that's what it's saying.
Coach Tim is the same build. He would have his athletic shorts on with his just like that,
Very close.
Got that coach's voice, But my sophomore year, so I'm just speaking up for my freshman, because I'm freshman academy principal who's gonna be sophomores next year. My sophomore year, we went 9-1. And we were beat by St. Thomas More in the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
But their quarterback, I can't remember the guy's name. He went on to he was like a top-notch quarterback. He went on to play quarterback for LSU, starting as a freshman. So that's who beat us.
Was that y'all Detillier's second
That was
year?
Detillier's first year.
First year.
Yes,
Oh,
sir. Not his second.
First year.
So your first year at Ponchatoula, that's my prediction, 9-1. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure there. Huh?
No
I'll tell you what, I'll say this, Al. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't see the future, but I can tell you one thing: we got some good coaches on board. So that's going to help. Make things a lot easier.
And look, Coach, I know what else is going to make it easier. I say it everywhere. Ponchatoula High School has the best kids in the state.
Oh man, it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing. It has been. I cannot tell you how impressed I have been since I've been there. Yeah, because when you outside, you always hear this and that. And let me tell you something. Since I've been there, it is amazing the way that school is run. And I haven't ever been there before, but I can tell you what, Dr. Caminita is phenomenal. We have great administration, all you and the rest of the assistant principals. There's a reason that program runs like a smooth train. I'm telling you. It's one of the best that, I've been a part of a lot of good programs and with some good administrators and so forth. And I'm going to tell you what, I have been very much amazed since I've been there the last few months.
Well, one thing I can tell you,
Just on that a little bit, I've only been there, about 4 or 5 weeks now, but I've been at 1A schools, I've been at 5A schools and everything in between. I've been in the city of New Orleans. I've been at rural, urban, you name it. I've kind of been around, and I was so surprised. I haven't heard the F word not one time at Ponchatoula, and that's in the hallways. That's on the football field, and a lot of times on the football field it gets hot, you get heated, you're in competition, But I haven't heard it. I have, it's always yes, sir, no, sir. It's excuse me. I mean, it's just as a whole, the kids seem to be, I use the word old school, but it's almost like the kids are totally different from a lot of places I've been, and it seems to be a great, and my dad is actually born and raised in Ponchatoula, so I'm not from here, but I am from here.
Yeah.
But so it just seems so far that it's, like he said, I mean, from the administration on down, it's been a great fit so far.
And that's what it makes, it does make your job easier because of when you have great administration and it trickles down and the kids are doing what they're supposed to. And, it just makes things a lot easier when you're coming in. There's not a whole lot you have to do, just like being there on time, being where you're supposed to be and being, like Coach McDonald said, accountability. The kids are accountable for their actions. I've never seen, I've not seen one time you get on a kid and the kid, say something back or anything like that. It's like, there is accountability and the kids are hold themselves accountable and the rest of the students. It just seems like it's from the leadership down,
Yeah. Well, we're gonna leave the audience with this. John Maxwell says, winning is an inside job. And I look at the inside of the program right here, the nucleus of coaches that you built. I can see that we're gonna win. I can see that our kids are gonna win in the classroom. Our teachers are gonna win. We're gonna grow. And I'm excited about the Friday Night Lights. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait until August.
You and me, but
Can't wait until August. And listen, I'm saying this with one more Tuesday left. It's cool.
yeah, that's true.
So I'm ready for the next year. Looking forward to seeing you on the sideline, Coach Sears, Coach Craig, Coach McDonald. This is my guy right here now. We've been riding together since I started my first year at Ponchatoula. It was last year, and Coach McDonald, he's been, very, very helpful in helping me moving forward and transitioning and understanding how the culture works at the school. Him and Coach Josh Dominguez, like those two guys, they are guys. They're not snitches, but they are guys.
Yeah, I can't take all the credit. He's helped me too. Him and Coach White helped me finish up my master's degree and stuff. So, I'm just thankful for them too.
Well, and that's the thing is, I've known Coach McDonald, he's coached with me, previously, and I've known him. And the thing about it is with great coaching, you got to have all the pieces.
Yeah.
And if you don't have other coaches around you and you don't have what you need around you, it's hard to do what you need. And I think now watching this spring, we're there. I ain't say we're there, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
We got the puzzles and, we got the pieces together and all that. So I think, and I don't think, I know, I see it every day, the way these guys are working together,
buying it,
and they're buying in, and the kids are performing.
Yeah.
One thing I'm gonna say about the guys that coach has brought in so far, this is a lost thing in coaching now. Everything's a lot easier now with turf fields and stuff. People don't earn their stripes the same way, but I feel like, especially these guys sitting here, I know myself and a lot of coaches he's brought in, there isn't a job that they're too good to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still fill up a water bottle if I got to. I don't care.
Yeah.
He's the head coach. He don't care. He'll fill up a water bottle, right? That's what we signed up to do.
Yeah.
Paint the field, go run, do something, wash clothes. How much, nobody knows how many clothes we wash.
I know. And I wash it clear today.
Hey, we're going to mention that because, and Kobe will tell you, we wash a lot of clothes.
Yeah. And
in one washing machine.
You need a hazmat uniform.
Look, it's real. When you put it in right after practice, that first load is fine. But when you come in at 7 o'clock in the morning and you got to dig through that wet laundry and you can smell the ammonia coming in, it's rough.
Yeah, you got that one. I'm going to help fill water bottles, man.
Our dryer is almost the size of this room.
Yeah, I could wash all the kids at Ponchatoula school because they're not.
We need a big washer too.
That's right.
So we could do a one load wash. No? Yeah, man. All right. I talked to Ms. Dominguez and I have 3 board members. They're going to be on the podcast next week or the weekend. Oh, I'll bring that up to them as well. We need a big washer to match the dryer. We'll do that, man. PAULSE Podcast, positive actions, uplifting lives, sparking excellence. Hey, thank y'all coaches, man. Looking forward to working with y'all. Looking forward to seeing what y'all going to do this coming season, man, and wish y'all the best of luck.
Thanks for having us all on.
Yeah, thank you for having us. And I've got other coaches. One day we'll get them on,
Oh, yeah, man.
Them on as well.
Oh, yeah, we definitely got to do the coaches show for right before the season starts. That's right. We're going to do our Jamboree episode. So we gonna be
need a couple more couches.
Yeah, we're going to need a couple more couches. And we're going to need a few more mics.
Hey, and then I'm going to have Coach Chicken come in, and he's going to make sure we arrange right.
I think I might have to get Chicken his own episodes. So
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
All right, Coos, man. God bless y'all, man. Thank y'all for coming on, man.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for sitting with us today on the PAULSE Podcast, where positive actions uplift lives and spark excellence. We hope today's conversation encouraged you, challenged you, and gave you something you can apply to your own life. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us grow by sharing it with your family, friends, co-workers, and anyone who believes in making a positive difference. Be sure to follow PAULSE on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and RSS, and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast so you'll never miss a new episode. Remember, every great change begins with one positive action. Until next time, keep uplifting lives, keep pursuing excellence, and keep making a difference. I'm Paul D. Taylor Sr., and this has been the PAULSE Podcast. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Listen, learn, lead. Peace.